In just a few days, headlines are likely to read that conservatives are to blame for Superman going lame at the box office. Folks, we're here to let you know that's not true. Despite the fact that Thursday previews looked fantastic, it turns out that Superman is performing in a lackluster fashion, and though the domestic box office may be disappointing, it's international, where James Gunn has been captured by Kryptonite. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. Happy Sunday morning if you're watching this video at the time of release. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend and a very happy July. Folks, we only ask that you click the like button and let's dive in. We need to hop back onto Friday. I need to show you why it was that suddenly folks were very excited about James Gunn and DC and Superman, and you still should be excited, but boy, oh boy, Hollywood was all abuzz because Superman snares $22.5 million in Thursday previews on way to $140 million opening was the headline on CNBC, but also across the web. Everybody thought, oh my goodness, they've done it. Well, folks, this along with the idea that probably the international was going to bring in the global, the worldwide, right, was going to bring in more than the domestic, had people jumping for joy saying, oh my gosh, Superman could cross the $300 million threshold for its global combined domestic and international opening for the weekend. And that was going to be amazing. And that was going to change everything. And the fact that some were saying already that this was a dud. Well, we're back in the mud. Unfortunately, folks, that did not last. So let's dive in and give you a PhD understanding of what's going on with the superhero genre. The Hollywood Reporter has this by Pamela McClintock, and it says, box office, Superman saves the day for DC Studios with a solid $115 to $120 million domestic opening. Solid. It's solid. Directed by James Gunn, the superhero pick appears to be succeeding in rebooting both the Warner Brothers' own DC and its most prized comic book film franchise. But again, folks, solid. 115 down from 140. So what in the world happened? James Gunn's Superman is headed for a possible record domestic box office debut of 115 to 120 after topping Friday's chart with $56.5 million, including a hefty $22.5 million in previews. And my math says to me that Friday did not come out to be what they were hoping for. The movie appears to be succeeding in rebooting DC Studios and its most iconic comic book franchise. Gunn is in a unique position, yada, yada. You all know this. But here's where the true disappointment lies. And you are not going to hear this on much of the analysis yet. But it's going to get there. People are going to start talking about that. That's why you come here for tomorrow's headlines. Look down here, folks. Overseas, Superman is launching to a 100 million plus from 78 markets after earning 40 million midweek from its first raft of international markets for an early global total of 96.5 million through Friday. Now hang in there with me, okay? Because what this means is that Superman overseas ran significantly earlier than Superman domestically, and yet they're only giving it the 100 million plus. So in other words, it's barely going to crest 100 million. If they could say 105 plus, they would. If they could say 110 plus, they would. And they should, but they can't, so they won't. So 100 million plus. Well, what does that tell us? Folks, here's the PhD. You ready? If Superman debuts between 115 and 120 domestically, and if it barely breaks 100 internationally, then that means that one market, the U.S., is performing better than 78 other markets combined, and those 78 other markets had more runway. And that means that this is heavily lopsided towards being an American film primarily at the box office. That's not good. Have you ever watched and seen how well some of those Marvel films do, and you go look at the box office results and you see that a lot of that's being driven by overseas hauls? Well, that's not happening, not at all for Superman. Let's go now to Superman from Deadline, Nancy Tartaglione with this one. Superman gunning towards 210 plus million worldwide opening. And this is why the disappointment is major. Now, they're not going to say this right away. They're not going to tell you this right away, but you're here and you're learning this right away. That is, This film, as of Friday, had a chance to shoot for $300 million. Remember, so the way we would calculate that is, if it had a $140 million domestic opening, and if the film had just a 1-to-1 ratio, one U.S. market versus 78 other markets in the world, if that was 1-to-1, then you can see how that would get us to almost $300 million. And then if you say, well, somewhere, we're going to get just a little bit more boost internationally, it's a $300 million opening. And then that's great, because then if it's a 2X or a 3X, you're still probably going from a baseline of break even to a high of, hey, we could aim for $1 billion. Now, that is far more difficult. $210 million worldwide opening. That's not pleasant. It says, on Friday, Warner Brothers' DC Superman added another $21.5 million from 78 international box office markets. That brings the offshore flying accumulation to $40 million through Friday. Globally, with Friday's domestic count, the worldwide running total is $96.5 million. While we still have Saturday and Sunday to come overseas, what's clear here is that domestic is leaning harder into this latest iteration of the Man of Steel. And when domestic is leaning harder, and when domestic doesn't live up to what they were hoping for, that's a problem. It says, all told, the James Gunn directed Superman is expected to reach $210 million in its worldwide bow. This is slightly above where we had it before the weekend, and of course, could shift given Saturday, Sunday play. And what we found out is it's probably going to shift downwards. All right, so here's the real issue. And China came in, Spain came in, Japan came in. None of it's great for Superman. None of it's great internationally at all for Superman whatsoever. We need to go back, though, to The Hollywood Reporter for a moment, okay? Come back with me. I need to show you something. It goes on to talk about Superman will be the first superhero film to cross $100 million in its North American bow since Marvel Studios and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool and Wolverine launched to $211 million, okay? $211 million is the kind of launch that DC would hope to have for Superman. They would hope to have 140, 150, 160. And I'm going to demonstrate that definitively right now. Let's go down. And if the $225 million tentpole comes in north of $116.6 million, it will beat Zack Snyder's 2013 film, Man of Steel. Man of Steel had $116.7 million. To rank as the biggest domestic launch ever for a solo Superman pick, not adjusted for inflation. Okay, so it looks to me like The Hollywood Reporter is claiming that $225 million is the total spend, or at least the budget, on Superman 2025. So let's run the quick math, folks. 225 plus at least $100 million in marketing gets this to 325. It is almost certainly much higher than that, but we'll stay there, right? So 325, and at 325, this would need 650 to break even, because you take away 50% that goes to taxes and to cinemas. Okay, so Man of Steel at 116.7. Adjusted for inflation, it is approximately $170 million. Okay? What that means is that Superman 2025 at 110 to 120 is coming in somewhere around 30%, about 30% lower than Man of Steel in terms of ticket sales. That's a problem. That's a big problem. If you are 1/3 short of Man of Steel, and this is the big James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel James Gunn, and you're coming in 1/3 short, and that's domestic, and the global is kind of lackluster. I mean, it's really disappointing, the global. And by the way, if you want to know about Jurassic World Rebirth, I mean, it is going to have a huge drop this weekend, very disappointing drop. So it's not the dinos that are eating at Superman. I think, honestly, this Variety deal, where they came out and essentially tried to create an artificial pit of conservatives versus liberals, I think there was an impact here, right versus left, and the battle for Superman. I think it had an actual impact on the audience results. I really do, and that's fascinating. But Man of Steel is going, as we predicted. Man of Steel will have a higher attended opening weekend, and adjusted for inflation blows away Superman 2025. Now, does that mean that I am negative about James Gunn and Superman? No, I gave the movie a 6.5 out of 10. Marvin, who reviewed it for us here on the channel first because he had exclusive access to it, He gave it a 2.2 or 2.5 out of 10. He didn't like it. He hated it. I mean, he really hated it. And of course, we've had Michelle from Force of Light on the channel. She gave it an 8 out of 10. So reviews are all over the place. The problem for James Gunn and for DC is they don't need reviews to be all over the place. I thought it was kind of meh. I thought that the movie has Superman getting the crap beat out of him too much. I thought that Lex Luthor sobbing like a little baby at the end was not the way that you want to have your mega villain be. I thought there was too much cursing for a movie that needs kids. Honestly, needs kids. There's too much just casual cursing in the film. And that's not me trying to be a moral prune. That's me telling you that tickets matter. And Superman, even though it's PG-13, needs kiddos. So, what do I say on this one? Folks, the second weekend will matter. And I hate to say this because I think the superhero genre is in deep, deep trouble. But Superman 2025 is off to a very disappointing start at the box office, no matter what the narrative may be, no matter what the news media tell you. The international is weak. The domestic, despite the flash that we had on Friday that gave us some gas to the idea this thing might win, it didn't pan out. Superman now has doubts. James Gunn, his DC universe, may be struggling right out of the gate. Fantastic Four will be poor. There's no doubt about that. But Superman didn't give us more of what we wanted. It showed us what could have been in brief moments in the movie. And at the box office, we're still waiting. All right, folks, that is the video for your Sunday morning. Sorry to be a bummer. I'd like to be on here with great news. I'd like to be here telling you that it made $200 million domestically and it's met the same amount internationally. But no. I think superheroes they're fading. They're fading. And perhaps it was not faded. Perhaps it was their sacrifice. The sacrifice of the superhero genre the Golden Goose made at the altar of politics years ago, whether or not James Gunn was trying to do so now or not. Like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts about all of this. Have you seen Superman? What did you think? Are you surprised that the box office is not doing as well as they would like? And are you interested in how the media is going to cover this? So am I. Folks, until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
You know what? I don't even care this time.
Well, you should know that I'm preparing to...
Nope, I said I don't care. Whatever you're doing, I don't care.
You don't want to know that I'm auditioning for Pro's new rock station on New Rock Radio?
Nope.
You don't want to know that he now has Vacation Radio and New Rock Radio on Prelude Studios, which used to be Vacation Radio but is now so much more?
Well, maybe.
You don't want to know that I purchased this guitar and these sunglasses using the credit card that you humorously labeled for emergency uses only?
Wait, what? You did what?
Oh, see, now you're taking interest in my passions and abilities. Okay, so Jose, you're sure that we ordered the $10,000 drum kit before Floral canceled the credit card?
It did, Miss Dripset. Check.
Nice. Okay. Oh, and the didgeridoo? That will increase in value so that Floral can send his kids to college?
Academia. Who needs it?
Why is there a didgeridoo on the front porch? I'm gonna bury that little troll.
Jose, Google how to play didgeridoo. We're gonna need to justify this somehow.